Hello and welcome to this special podcast on retail and location-based technology. I'm Ben Sillitoe, your host for the next 20-30 minutes or so, and I'm delighted to be joined by a selection of experts from the world of retail and technology for what I'm hoping will be a wide-ranging chat about location-based tech, something that's very pertinent in the retail industry today. We're going to look at where we've got to with it, where we are now, and where we are headed. And hopefully we're going to cover lots of pertinent points that are very relevant to your retail organisation or companies that you're working for. So who have we got on today's podcast? Who am I? I'm Ben Sillitoe. I'm a freelance retail journalist, have been for the best part of a decade now. I set up Retail Gazette 10 years ago. I set up Essential Retail about 5 or 6 years ago. And now I work for these magazines and for various other publications in the world of retail. Retail technology is my area of expertise in general. But over time, I have covered pretty much every aspect of retail you can imagine. Left no stone unturned. Anyway, who else do we have in the room? I'm going to go round in order. To my left, Craig Crawford. Do you want to give yourself a bit of an introduction and say why you're here today?
Sure, Ben. Thanks for having me. I'm Craig Crawford. I've grown up in retail, actually. I started my career as a designer in New York, moved to this country to lead the digital transformation at Burberry. And for the past 5 years, I've had my own boutique consultancy where I work with retailers and fashion brands, helping them with IT strategy in the digital transformation space.
Excellent. And Pierson, please give us an introduction.
Hi, Ben. Thank you. Yeah, my name is Pierson Broome. I act as Hitachi Consulting's EMEA retail SME, subject matter expert. My background is retail supply chain for, shockingly this year, for a little over 30 years, which depresses me no end. But nonetheless, it does give me a wealth of experience based around, as similar to yourself, a wide range of retail engagements with multiple sectors within the business.
Thanks, Pierson. And Mark, please give us a little intro.
Yeah, hi, Ben. My name's Mark Williams. I'm also from Hitachi Consulting, not quite as old as Pierson, so 20-odd years in retail and hospitality, working with various different retailers in the UK across fashion, apparel, and also hospitality, and also now and again venturing out to Europe as well. Excellent.
Well, thank you very much for those intros. Let's delve into what we want to talk about today. Let's keep it general. Everyone in this room is very much entrenched in retail and hospitality. We keep hearing about so many challenges that these particular sectors are facing right now. Various reasons for that. But does anyone want to give me a bit of a state of play in the retail industry assessment right now? You're all talking to retailers throughout the course of the week, to hospitality companies throughout the course of the week. What's the general vibe in the industry at the moment? It's a very challenging time, is my view. But Pierson, perhaps you have a different view.
It's not different. You won't be surprised to hear. We talk, as you say, to retailers from all the sectors. And retail for us is retail and hospitality. You're absolutely right. The challenges are, we would class them as nuanced between the subsectors, but in general, they are very, very similar. Obviously, the malaise on the high street needs no real sort of introduction. There isn't a week goes by when another retailer or maybe a restaurant chain is either applying for CVA or perhaps even just going out of business. And as sad as it is, that malaise has been triggered by the fact that so many of them have either been late to the tech party, they are failing to implement technology, a digital transformation exercise to stay relevant to their customers. And in some instances, they are being crowded out of the market. Hospitality is a classic example here, by the simple fact that there are really we've reached a saturation point. And it's always been retail, a very cutthroat business, without any shadow of a doubt. And survival of the fittest, and now survival of the most technology aware, is where we're at today.
I think, Craig, you work with various retailers. You've had a varied career within the retail and big brand space. Has it always been this way, or are we in a particularly challenging time at the moment? A particularly fast changing period where the kind of the challenges are pushing retailers into decisions they wouldn't have usually made, or particularly is it a particularly worrying time, or is it? Tell me your view. Tell me your view.
I think it is a worrying time. Retail in itself hasn't changed, and we all want good service, and we want the right product. We want the right product at the right price in the right place, and we want brands and retailers to know who we are and recognize our loyalty. And loyal customers pay the bills, and loyal customers, the repeat customers, are the ones that are responsible for most of the revenue at a brand. I think what's so challenging is that many retailers have ignored e-commerce or thought of it as a separate channel and haven't really kept track of what smartphones mean and how digital is now discovery. And so if they're not in the place where the customer is first looking for them, and they aren't paying attention to what the customer wants, and instead they're still looking at predicting the future from a spend analysis on how things have been done in the past, they're missing out. And I think that's the challenge, is that there's new tools now to make retail be more successful. And the ones that are successful have embraced those tools, golly, for over a decade probably at this point. The ones that are looking at it now are, well, quite frankly, a decade behind. And that's costly. That is very costly.
We see it very much, internally, and from an internal point of view, I mean, when we talk to Hitachi Consulting's customers, as 3 areas of challenge. And it's interesting, Craig, you mentioned about omni-channel, because that falls very much under what we would class as customer experience. Customer experience is number 1. Number 2 would be sort of costs and operations, and much of the reason why a number of these retailers are struggling today, as we know, is the high street is an expensive place to be, certainly when you compare it against pure play and e-com players who don't have the same kind of cost structure with rents and rates and staffing.
Yes.
And finally, not to be forgotten, there's also quite a high shrink necessity to actually consider as well. We know the numbers are very large. A lot of people we talk to don't even understand how that shrink is made up. Those are the 3 areas, and I think technology has a role to play in all of them. But if I had to pick the one that you just mentioned in terms of omni-channel, which we've been talking about for probably too long now, there are still too many retailers that either accept what they have as being the operational model and either won't change or don't fully understand still, even in this day and age, what omni-channel really means to them.
Yes.
Pierson, whether they're, well, this is a question open to everyone around the table, but whether retailers are successfully omni-channel or not, that all of them seem to be talking about customer experience, and it's a buzz phrase of the moment. Mark, perhaps what do you think retailers mean by customer experience? Why is there such this focus on it at the moment? It seems to me like retail's always been about delivering a good customer experience and good service and good product, which is all wrapped up in the word experience throughout time. But right now, it seems to be something that retailers are chasing, the customer experience dream, delivering the customer experience dream.
And the question is, what is customer experience, right? We all expect a good customer experience. So that, to me, that's a given from a customer point of view. I think the retailers' biggest asset is the data that they have. Right? So they all tell us they've got so much data they don't know what to do with it. So here's the opportunity for them, is to be able to leverage that data, and what they're looking for is organisations to help them to leverage that data. To get great customer experience, you have the opportunity to use the data not only on your customers, so whichever channel you're talking to them or they're engaging with you from an omni-channel point of view, but also then how do you then understand how they're engaging across those channels? So there is data there. There is that possibility, but you need the right people, the right tools and analysis to enable you to get that insight.
And then to add to what you're saying, Mark, is how do you then react to these things, and what is brand appropriate behavior in real time or near real time? And I think this is where we're struggling as retailers and understanding. customer experience is, yes, when someone comes in the store and greeting them and knowing who they are. But if you're a global brand, the only way you're going to be able to do that is through technology. And then if you don't understand how your customer, to Mark's point, has engaged with you across multiple platforms, and then turn to the store and say, well, you need to fulfill e-commerce and you need to take a return from online. And so the store is becoming a distribution center. And at the same time, they're supposed to be attentive to customers. It goes back to what you were saying, Pierson. You're trying to run the old model, but asking someone to be a distribution center. How are they going to do all these things? So it is looking at what the tech allows them to do and then being able to change your behavior.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think too many retailers think about customer experience, about how they engage with their customers. But actually, there's fundamentals behind that. We talk about cost and operations, right? So if you might have a great customer experience in the store, but actually when the product you want, they don't have the right size, or that you're bringing a product back and they say, oh, we can't accept that, or you can only have a voucher, or you ask for home delivery and then the product doesn't arrive when it's meant to arrive, or the wrong product arrives, then the whole of this sort of customer experience it's gone out the window, right? Then whatever the brand and the brand talk themselves, they pride themselves on customer experience and how they engage with their customers. From my point of view, is gone, right? So when you look at customer experience, you have to look at across the whole of the retail value chain, all of the aspects that you will engage with that customer, not just in the store or how easy your website is to use. So I think it's really important. Ultimately, if you can't get the product and you can't take the product back, then as a customer, I'm going to be disappointed.
There are so many challenges facing the retail industry at the moment. We could go on and on. Let's try and find some solutions. Let's talk about some of the solutions that are out there that maybe help retailers navigate some of these choppy waters that we see at the moment. The focus of today's conversation was going to be on location-based technology, which I know is something that the Hitachi consulting team know very well. It's in their armoury. For me, writing about retail over the years, location-based technology has cropped up in terms of retailers' deployment of beacons. Lots of fashion retailers have put them in their stores, and they interact with customers' mobile apps, and they can be used for various reasons. I've even seen some retailers put beacons near competitors' stores, so they can target potential customers of their competitors with special offers. All sorts of things going on with that kind of technology. Other location-based technology that we see every day, you can be scrolling through your Twitter feed, and the adverts that crop up in your Twitter feed are based on where you happen to be at that particular time. These are the sort of tangible examples of location-based technology that I see today. What else are we seeing, and what's your overview on this particular part of the retail technology market? That one's open to anyone.
The geolocation aspect is something that's critical when you look at personalised campaign management. Your Twitter feed example is a good point in question, really. If you extrapolate that to a wider retail environment, then you do need and want to understand when your customers are close to a physical location. Beacon technology allows you to do that. I've also seen the geofencing where an organisation has not geofenced their own store, but they've geofenced the competitor's store so that as and when their customer approaches that store, they then offer them a personalised promotion. So there are different ways of skinning that particular cat, but nonetheless, geolocation is absolutely critical. When you look at digital signage as an example, as an adjunct to the beacon, then you can see an opportunity where you can get true personalised campaign promotions based on actually identification of the individual customer, knowing their customer lifetime value, knowing their worth to you as an ongoing, long-standing customer, and also knowing their purchase history. One of the issues has been what the retail industry call the O2O challenge, the online to offline transfer, whereas online, obviously, pure play organisations know everything about us. They know our names, our delivery addresses, our home addresses, our credit card numbers, our genders, probably our ages, and a whole raft of other information. And that same person can walk into probably the same brand store, completely unknown. So the holy grail is very much if you can actually transfer an understanding of what Mark said before, the customer behaviour that they actually exhibit online to an offline environment in store, an already put upon store that is now having to fulfill a less than optimized omni-channel strategy that doesn't deliver good customer service because it doesn't know what to do with returns. And all of that is a major issue. So if you start to put, we would say, not just geolocation technology combined with digital displays for campaign promotion management, but actually hyperlocation technologies as well, drop it down a level, whereas in store we're now starting to actually measure customer behavior to track individuals potentially anonymously or maybe tied to apps and loyalty systems, actual customers as well, looking at their shopping behaviors, looking at what they pick up, what they don't pick up, which parts of the store they visit, where they don't visit, how long they stand in front of a display, and which ones they ignore entirely. That kind of information is absolutely priceless to a retail organisation. And today, short of putting an army of people in store, they've got no other way of capturing that.
And when retail started, this is what we did in stores, right? This is what managers did. You rearrange merchandise, you move things around, you observed what customers did. Bigger brands now still rely on their store managers for feedback in that way, but this is forensically quantifying this and understanding what's happening and being able to respond to it regionally and globally. And that's the big unlock, I think. And I think that retail struggles still understanding how to interpret this and react to it really quickly. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think retailers, as Pierson said, right, they know what happens online, right? They know what you're doing on their website and know what you did before and where you go afterwards. But retailers have no idea what customers are doing in the store. They count the number of people that come in. They see the basket at the end, but there's a massive gap in the middle. And as Craig said, in the old days, originally they knew that the store manager would have had time to actually observe. But I'm not sure the store manager has time to do any of that nowadays. The whole idea now within retail, whatever form of retail, whether it be fashion or whether it be groceries, to reduce the number of people in the store. So how do you get that insight if you've got less people in store? And that's really where some of this hyperlocation technology comes in. It will enable you to have the insight to make decisions that can benefit that store, whether that's where the flow of customers, where they're going around your store, where the products are laid out. Where are the best areas to put your products and what type of products should be in certain locations.
And retailers are realising this. I know for a fact, I'll quote a couple of fashion examples. Dune Group, the shoe retailer, completely restructured internally at head office, and they've got a whole data insights team now. That shows the importance they're putting towards this. Kurt Geiger, I saw an advert on LinkedIn the other day for a customer insight manager at Kurt Geiger. It was a very nicely put advert, but it seemed like they're desperate for this insight, someone to crunch the data, someone that knows what they're doing and then can actually action it. So there's a thirst and a demand for this kind of technology that we're all talking about today. It's needed.
Yeah. I think one of the things out there, if you talk to probably every retailer and every hospitality company, they say, oh yeah, we need data scientists. Again, they don't quite know why they want them, but then and then following that,
they'll pay for them,
or how they pay for them, and of course there's not that many of them out there. But then the next breadth, they'll say, oh well, we also need machine learning and AI. We need AI, and it's what does that mean, and how can you benefit from that? And it all comes down to ultimately about understanding how you're going to use that data. And I wouldn't expect somebody says we're going to use AI. Well, again, you've still got to have an idea of how you're going to use it before it's not magic, right? So it needs some input.
And you need a business case and a use case that is specific to the domain, to retail, to address. It's no good putting technology in just because you think that will cure whatever problem it is that you're trying to address from a customer experience standpoint. You've got to have targeted KPIs and metrics that you can actually monitor.
Yes.
So Craig mentioned before about the fact that the data element is critical. Mark has mentioned that obviously retailers have had data coming out their ears for goodness knows how long because of the transactional nature of retail and hospitality. They've got a flood and a flow of point of sale data that's coming in centrally that gives them an understanding of which items they're selling, at which frequency, with which cadence, to which stores and in which location. So that information is flooded in for decades. But now we're saying, now put some sensors in your store. And what's that going to give you? It's going to give you even more data. The clever retailers are the ones that are putting it into a data platform, a true foundation of data from both structured and unstructured. And by unstructured, I mean, for example, social media feed, and even photographs and pictures online that people are talking about in different ways through Facebook, through Twitter, whatever it happens to mean. And they are making use of that data, structured and unstructured, to gather the necessary ingested input for the analytics that Mark mentioned in terms of AI and ML. It is valuable, without any shadow of a doubt. You do need the right people who understand the technologies, but retail has to realise that it's not an option. They're going to have to do this, and we would suggest it's not just to profit anymore, but for those that haven't already done it, to actually survive.
Let's talk about some of those successful retailers, the clever retailers. I can't remember the exact phrase you used, Pierson, but we're all well travelled around the room. We Hitachi consulting team work for global business. Craig, it's unusual to sit with you in London. You're all travelling around the world all the time, so you must see retail on a global scale. I was lucky enough to head to Japan in November 2018, and I travelled to the US and Europe regularly on the retail beat. What are we seeing? Which retailers are using this technology particularly well? Perhaps from the Hitachi team, you could tell us which retailers are particularly far ahead in terms of using some of the technology we've been discussing.
We'll take a classic example of what would be classed as a hospitality customer in the retail space. We work with Dominos Pizza. Now, Domino's as an organisation, a very far-reaching organisation, but also forward-thinking in as much as they have realised that technology, in terms of their omni-channel strategy, and it may be very difficult to even believe that a company that produces a fairly prosaic product like a pizza has an omni-channel strategy. But the reality is today, as their technology partner, Hitachi Consulting, we know that 80% of Domino's Pizza's sales come through the digital channels, through online. So that's due to changing demographic, and people who want pizza potentially are going to be people who have mobile devices, they're on the move themselves. And at the same time, we've got emerging technologies like voice retail. And so what we've done in conjunction with Domino's is to write interfaces, API interfaces to the Alexa platform, so that now voice retail is mature enough where pizzas can be ordered using the Alexa device. You just say, Alexa, feed me. It's as simple as that. And
I think I remember covering that story a while back, actually. Yeah, Domino's seem quite forward-thinking with this kind of technology. It's good to see. Craig, any other examples out there that you've spotted?
I'll go from pizza to platform shoes. How's that? Here in London, Mattress Fashion are incredibly sophisticated in how they have, a digital little black book about the customer. It's tied into the website. Wish list information comes through. A sales associate is empowered to text a customer through the same technology, email the customer through the technology, and then internally they're able to move product around so that they can have styling sessions with customers in any of their location. They're digital. They're customer first. They're definitely customer first, but they've always embraced digital and been very sophisticated. And then if you're on their app, they're notified when you come in store. So they know who the customers are regardless of what shop they come into. So to me, having that dialogue with the customer and doing it in real time and being able to move product and have the right product assortment around when the customer's there and to be able to schedule these things are all, they seem normal, and it's not really new behavior. It's just using tools to know who that customer is when they come in, what they want, what they're looking at, why they're there, and then the ability to move product around and tie it all up. So I think they're a great example of someone who's doing it very well.
And dare I say that out of that type of approach falls another benefit, which so many retail organisations fail to recognise, which is the sort of poor relation. It's the supply chain piece. So if you've got the right product in the right place and the right quantities, you've got a better set of data to execute against your supply chain challenges as well. So there's cost to be driven out of the supply chain by making it as lean and as optimized as possible. We've known that for decades. But again, it comes back to a data-centric approach to say, how do I ensure that my customer experience doesn't suffer? And in this instance, we're talking about customer service and the levels that you'd apply, by not having product available? How do I not frustrate an increasingly tech-savvy market, especially within fashion, the younger sort of Gen Zs and the millennials who are buying almost exclusively online? How do I not alienate them by making sure that I can actually maintain my customer service levels? And supply chain has a massive part to play in that. If it's on the same foundation, on that same data platform, you're getting, again, to use your sort of analogy here, Craig, a holistic view of the business, not only the front end retail element, but you've got the more upstream parts of distribution, fulfillment, warehouse management, and even the potential to look at maybe manufacturing integration as well.
We're looking to looking to wrap things up now. We've time has flown, and we've covered lots of things very, very quickly. One thing I did want to quickly focus on is Hitachi Consulting are lucky enough to be a partner of the Drapers Digital Festival in 2019, where lots of these themes will be spoken about and conveyed, and I'm sure there'll be talking points for the years ahead. What is it that if in this year, what is it Hitachi Consulting are hoping that the main messages that come across from the kind of technology that you're offering? What are you hoping that retailers are going to think about when they talk to Hitachi Consulting, and how do you think it's going to help their business go forward?
I think for me, so at Drapers this year, the key thing we're talking about is around this location-based technology. So, the in-store insight. So, and we're basing that on the work that we're doing in Japan. So a lot of retailers here in Europe look to Japan for innovation and ideas. Now Hitachi Consulting is already working with 12, 14 major Japanese fashion retailers using location-based technology. And what we're really looking forward to do is bringing this technology to the UK and European market. We think it gives great insight. So we were talking earlier with the inability of retailers to really understand what is happening in their stores. We're really excited to bring this technology that will start to give them that insight, so they can start to then look at where the opportunities are to reformat those stores, or actually just look at the better flows and which customers they need to be targeting. So I think that's our major focus for this year.
It's Mark. It's a technology we're going to hear a lot more about in the months ahead, I'm sure. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time today. Very, very interesting insights. Hope to have this conversation and continue this conversation further in the months ahead, and hear how you're getting on in the retail industry in Europe. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Ben.
Ben. Thank you.